I turned off the engine and sat there in the darkness of the parking lot. Something felt wrong. The office building of Mitchell and Bradley Construction stood silent against the October sky, but there was one light on Tom's office. And parked right next to his black Silverado was my wife's silver Lexus. At 11:47 p.m. on a Wednesday night, my wife's car had no business being at my company's office. I'd driven back because I'd forgotten the Henderson project files. The presentation was tomorrow morning, and I needed those blueprints. Simple errand. 10 minutes, in and out. But now, seeing that Lexus, my hands wouldn't leave the steering wheel. 25 years of marriage. 25 years of trusting Linda when she said she was at book club, at the gym, visiting her sister. And here was her car, at my business partner's office, nearly at midnight. I stepped out of my truck quietly. The autumn air bit at my face as I approached the building. My key turned in the lock without a sound. I'd built this company from nothing, knew every creak in the floor, every shadow in the hallway. Now I moved through it like a stranger, afraid of what I might find. Tom's office light spilled into the hallway. The door was cracked open just an inch. I heard voices. His voice deep and confident. And hers. Linda's laugh, the one that used to make my heart skip. I pressed myself against the wall and listened. The Henderson deal closes next week, Tom was saying. That's another 200 grand that'll flow through. Robert has no idea half of it's been rerouted. How much do we have now? That was Linda's voice. Businesslike. Cold. Combined with the offshore accounts? Just over 1.2 million. Another 6 months, and we can trigger the exit plan. My chest tightened. Exit plan? What about the insurance policy? Linda asked. You said the premium increased. $3 million. Accidental death pays double. The way Robert drives. The way he's always on those construction sites. Accidents happen. The hallway spun. I grabbed the wall to steady myself. They were talking about killing me. My wife and my best friend were planning my murder like it was a business transaction. I've been patient for 5 years, Tom. Linda's voice carried an edge I'd never heard before. 5 years of pretending to love a man who bores me to tears. 5 years of his fishing trips and his war stories and his pathetic attempts to keep me interested. 5 years. We'd been married for 25 years, but she said 5. What did that mean? You've been perfect, Tom said. There was a sound, like fabric rustling. Were they embracing? Once he's gone, we'll wait the appropriate time. 6 months, maybe 8. Then you'll discover how much I've helped you through your grief. We'll merge the business assets, sell the whole operation, and disappear. Maybe Costa Rica, maybe Europe. I'm tired of waiting. Linda's voice was closer now. Can't we just speed things up? Patience, baby. We've come this far. Robert's got that big site inspection next week, the downtown tower project. 12 stories, lots of scaffolding, lots of ways something could go wrong. I've already talked to our guy in safety equipment. 1 faulty harness, 1 loose bolt. I couldn't listen anymore. My legs carried me back down the hallway, out the door, into the night air. I made it to my truck before my hands started shaking. I sat there, gripping the steering wheel, staring at nothing. 25 years. Let me go back. Let me tell you how we got here, because I need you to understand what this felt like. I need you to know what they destroyed. I met Linda in the spring of 1998. I was 37 years old, newly promoted to site manager at a construction firm in Portland. She was 24, working as a waitress at the diner near my office. I'd go there for lunch, and she'd remember my order. Black coffee, turkey club, no mayo. You're consistent, she said one day, smiling as she poured my coffee. I like that in a person. I was never good with women. I'd spent my 20s in the army, then jumped straight into construction. My hands were calloused, my conversation was limited to sports and building codes, and I'd never been what you'd call smooth. But Linda made me feel like I was interesting. She'd ask about my day, laugh at my jokes, touch my arm when she talked. We started dating 3 months later. She told me she was going to community college, studying to be a nurse but taking a semester off to save money. Her parents had died in a car accident when she was 19, she said. She was alone in the world, working 2 jobs, trying to build something for herself. I wanted to take care of her. Is that so wrong? I'd grown up watching my father work himself to death to provide for our family. That's what men did. That's what love looked like. We got engaged after 6 months. My mother worried it was too fast. "Robert, you barely know this girl," she said, but I was in love. Linda was beautiful, attentive, and she made me feel like I mattered. We got married in the spring of 1999, a small ceremony at the courthouse. She wore a simple white dress. I wore my only suit. We honeymooned in Cannon Beach for a weekend. The first few years were good. I worked long hours, built my reputation, saved every dollar I could. Linda quit the diner and started taking online business courses. She was smart, ambitious. In 2002, I took out a loan and started Mitchell Construction. Just me and two guys I'd worked with. Small residential jobs at first. Renovations, additions, the occasional new build. Linda helped with the paperwork, the invoicing, the scheduling. She was organized, efficient. When Sarah was born in 2001, Linda balanced motherhood and business support like a professional. Michael came along in 2004. I was working 70-hour weeks, but I was building something, building a future for my family. By 2010, Mitchell Construction had 15 full-time employees and a solid reputation. We'd moved from residential to small commercial projects. Schools, medical offices, retail spaces. I was proud of what I'd built, proud of the life I could provide for Linda and the kids. That's when Tom Bradley came into the picture. Tom and I had served together, briefly, in the Army. He was a staff sergeant when I was just a specialist. We weren't close, but when he showed up at my office in 2014, down on his luck and needing work, I helped him out. His wife had left him. He'd lost a business, and he was nearly broke. I gave him a job as a project manager. He was good at it. Smart with people, good with clients, understood the technical side. A year later, I made him a partner. Gave him a 25% stake in the company. Mitchell and Bradley Construction. He cried when I handed him the papers. "You saved my life, Rob," he said. "I'll never forget this." Linda supported the decision. Actually, she encouraged it. "Tom's talented," she said, "and you need help managing the growth. This is smart business." The company thrived. By 2020, we were pulling in $4 million a year in revenue. Tom handled client relations and acquisitions. I managed the crews and the actual construction. Linda ran the office, managed the books, handled HR. We were a team, but somewhere in those years, everything I believed was true became a lie. Sitting in my truck, watching that office light, I tried to remember when things changed. When did Linda start looking at me with indifference instead of affection? When did Tom's friendly shoulder pats feel like a performance? When did I become the fool in my own life? The answer came with horrible clarity. Maybe I always was. I thought about the prenuptial agreement. When we got engaged, Linda had brought it up. "I know you're just starting your career," she said, "and I don't want you to think I'm after your money. Let's get a prenup. Protect yourself." I'd thought it was noble, selfless. Now I wondered, had she known even then that the marriage was temporary? That she'd need to protect her exit strategy? I thought about Tom's divorce. Had that even been real? Or was that part of the plan too? Get me to feel sorry for him, bring him into the business, give him access to everything? And 5 years. She'd said 5 years of pretending. That was 2018. What happened in 2018? I racked my brain, sitting in that truck. 2018. Tom had gone through what he called a rough patch. Said he was depressed, seeing a therapist. I'd given him a month off, full pay, to get his head straight. He came back refreshed, energized. And that's when he started spending more time at the office with Linda. That's when their affair must have started. But the embezzlement, the offshore accounts, the planning that took years of setup, which meant this betrayal ran deeper than a 5-year affair. This was calculated from the beginning. My phone buzzed. A text from Linda. "Where are you? Thought you'd be home by now." I stared at the message. Home, the house I'd bought for her, the mortgage I'd worked myself sick to pay off, the renovation she'd wanted, the new kitchen, the master bathroom with the soaking tub she used once. I typed back. Forgot files at office, stopping to grab them. Be home soon. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then, okay. Love you. Love you? The words felt like acid. I waited another 20 minutes. Finally, Tom's office light went dark. I saw them leave together, Linda's hand on Tom's back. They stood by her car, talking. He kissed her. Not a peck. A real kiss, the kind you give someone you're in love with. Then she drove away, and he followed in his truck. I sat there for another hour, just thinking. My military training kicked in. This was a reconnaissance mission now. I had intelligence, but I needed proof. I needed evidence. And most importantly, I needed to be smart. Because if they knew, I was dead. I went into the office and grabbed the Henderson files like I'd planned. But I also went to Tom's office. The door was locked, but I had a master key. Inside, I found exactly what I expected. Nothing obvious. Tom was too smart for that. But he wasn't smarter than me. I sat down at his desk and opened his computer. He'd been lazy with the password. Bradley 2014, the year I made him partner. I almost laughed at the irony. His email was a goldmine. I couldn't read through everything, not now, but I took pictures with my phone. Emails to offshore banking institutions. Communications with someone named Vincent about merchandise delivery and safety equipment specifications. Spreadsheets showing money flowing from Mitchell and Bradley accounts to shell companies. I found a folder labeled RM Insurance. Inside were documents related to my life insurance policy, medical records, even notes about my daily routines. Subject typically arrives at work 6:30 a.m., leaves 5 p.m., runs every morning at 5:15 a.m. along Willamette River Trail. They'd been watching me, studying me, planning. I photographed everything, uploaded it to a cloud storage account Tom couldn't access, then cleared my tracks and left his computer exactly as I'd found it. At 2:30 a.m., I drove home. Linda was asleep, or pretending to be. I stood in the doorway of our bedroom watching her breathe. This woman I'd loved, trusted, built a life with. The mother of my children, and she was planning to kill me for insurance money. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I went through my routine like normal. Coffee at 5 a.m., run along the river, shower, kiss Linda goodbye though my lips barely touched her cheek. She didn't seem to notice. At the office, I presented the Henderson project to the city planning committee. Tom was there, schmoozing the clients, making jokes. I watched him work the room, saw the way people liked him. He was good at this. Good at being charming while plotting murder. After the meeting, I called an old friend. Jimmy Chen and I had served together in the Army, and he'd gone on to work as a private investigator in Seattle. If anyone could help me, it was Jimmy. "Rob? Jesus, man, it's been years. How are you?" His voice was warm, familiar. "Jimmy, I need help. Serious help. And I need you to keep this completely confidential." The warmth left his voice. "What's going on?" I told him everything. The conversation I'd overheard, the documents I'd found, the insurance policy, the offshore accounts. When I finished, there was a long silence. "Rob, if this is true, you're in danger. Real danger. You need to go to the police." "And tell them what? That I illegally accessed my business partner's computer and found evidence of a conspiracy? Without proper evidence, it's my word against theirs. And if I tip them off before I have solid proof, I'm dead. You know that." He sighed. "What do you need from me?" "Investigation. Deep background on both Linda and Tom. I need to know if they knew each other before. I need financial forensics on the company accounts. I need surveillance. And I need it done quietly. This is going to cost you. I don't care about the money, Jimmy. I care about staying alive and making sure they pay for this. Give me 2 weeks." I gave him 2 weeks, but I didn't sit idle. I started recording conversations. I bought a small digital recorder and kept it in my pocket whenever I was around Tom or Linda. I documented everything, times, dates, locations. I reviewed our financial records at home, made copies of everything Linda had access to. I checked our joint accounts and found systematic withdrawals, small enough not to trigger flags, but consistent. 10,000 here, 15,000 there, always with explanations. New office furniture, equipment maintenance, client entertainment expenses. Over 5 years, she'd siphoned nearly 200,000 from our personal accounts. I secured my assets, quietly moved money into accounts she couldn't access, updated my will, leaving everything to my kids in a trust she couldn't touch, made copies of every important document, and stored them in a safety deposit box at a bank across town. And I acted normal. That was the hardest part. Coming home every night, sitting across from Linda at dinner, listening to her talk about her day. She'd ask about my work, and I'd tell her about the Henderson project, the downtown tower project. She'd nod, smile, ask questions, and the whole time I knew she was gathering information, planning my murder. "How's the site safety inspection going?" she asked one night over pot roast. "Tom mentioned it's a big project." "Yeah, 12 stories, lots of regulations to navigate. We're doing the harness and equipment checks next week. You'll be up there?" Her eyes widened with what looked like concern. "That's so high, honey. Be careful." "I'm always careful," I said, watching her face, wondering if she was already imagining how it would look. The grief-stricken widow at my funeral. How everyone would console her. How Tom would be there to support her. "I worry about you," she said, reaching across the table to touch my hand. Her skin felt cold. "You're not getting any younger. Maybe you should let the younger guys do the high-altitude work." "I'll be fine," I said. "I've been doing this for 30 years. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I know, I just love you. I want you around for a long time." The lie slid off her tongue so easily. I wondered how many times she'd lied to me over the years. Thousands? Tens of thousands? Our entire marriage might have been built on lies. After dinner, I went to my workshop in the garage. That's where I kept the evidence, hidden in a lockbox inside a toolbox. Every night, I'd add to it. Printouts, recordings, notes, building my case. Jimmy called on day 13. "Rob, you sitting down? Just tell me. Your wife and Tom Bradley knew each other before you met her. They were in a relationship from 1996 to early 1998. According to my sources, they ran a con together in California. Small-time stuff. Romance scams targeting middle-aged men. They'd split up. Linda would seduce the mark, marry him, drain his accounts, and disappear. Did it at least twice before they got to Portland." The garage seemed to tilt. "What?" "She wasn't a waitress saving for nursing school, Rob. She was working the diner specifically to meet you. Tom did reconnaissance, found out you were single, had decent money, and were starting a business. She targeted you. But Tom wasn't in the picture then. He didn't show up until 2014. That was part of the plan. They split up to avoid suspicion. He went to Texas, laid low, built a cover story. The divorce was real, but it was from a woman he married for 6 months as part of another scam. When enough time had passed and your business was successful enough to be worth the effort, he came back. You hiring him was exactly what they wanted." My hands were shaking. 25 years. She's been lying to me for 25 years. "Rob, there's more. I found the offshore accounts. They've been moving money since 2016, right after Tom became partner. Conservative estimate. They've embezzled about $1.4 million from the company. The life insurance policy was increased 2 years ago, and there's correspondence with someone named Vincent Holloway. He's a known criminal, does corporate sabotage, makes accidents happen. He's being paid $50,000, due on completion. Completion of my murder." "Yes." I closed my eyes. "What do I do, Jimmy?" "You go to the FBI. This is wire fraud. Conspiracy to commit murder, racketeering if we can prove a pattern. Let them handle it." "No. Not yet. I need them to incriminate themselves more thoroughly. I need recordings, confessions, something irrefutable." "Rob, you're playing with fire. I'm already dead if I don't do this right. Give me 1 more week." I spent that week setting the trap. I called a meeting at the office on a Friday afternoon. Tom, Linda, and me. Told them I wanted to discuss the Henderson project and the downtown tower. Made it sound routine. But before the meeting, I planted recording devices in the conference room. 3 of them, hidden in different locations. Professional grade, the kind Jimmy had recommended. I also had my phone recording in my pocket. Tom arrived first, confident as always. "Big meeting? What's this about?" "Just want to make sure we're all on the same page," I said. "A lot of money moving around, a lot of big projects." Linda came in, carrying her laptop. She kissed my cheek. "Should I take notes?" "That'd be great, honey." We sat down and I started talking about the Henderson project. Numbers, timelines, profit margins. Tom chimed in with updates on client relations. Linda typed away on her laptop. Then I shifted gears. "There's something else I wanted to discuss," I said, watching their faces. "I've been looking at our financials, and some things aren't adding up." Tom's expression didn't change. "What things?" Expenses. We've had some significant outlays over the past few years that don't seem to match up with actual purchases or services rendered. Linda stopped typing. What do you mean? I track every expense. I know you do, honey. That's what concerns me. These expenses are in the books, but I can't find the corresponding work or materials. Tom leaned back in his chair. Rob, you're not an accountant. Linda handles the books because she's good at it. If you have concerns, maybe we should bring in an outside auditor. That's exactly what I'm thinking, I said. In fact, I've already contacted one. They'll start reviewing our accounts next week. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Linda's face went pale. An auditor? Robert? That seems extreme. Why didn't you discuss this with me first? Because I wanted to make sure I wasn't imagining things. But I've been going through old records, and Linda, there are withdrawals that don't make sense. Payments to companies I've never heard of. Transfers to accounts I don't recognize. Tom stood up. Rob, I think you're tired. You've been working too hard. Maybe you need a vacation, clear your head. I'm very clear-headed, Tom, and I think we need to have an honest conversation about where our company's money has been going. They exchanged a look, just a split second, but I caught it. Fear, panic. Linda closed her laptop. Robert, I've been managing these books for years. If there are discrepancies, they're mistakes, not whatever you're implying. I'm not implying anything. I'm just saying we need to figure this out. Tom moved toward the door. I think we should table this discussion until we've all had time to cool off. This is clearly emotional, and we don't want to say things we'll regret. Sit down, Tom. He stopped. Excuse me? Sit down. We're not done. For the first time since I'd known him, Tom looked uncertain. He sat down slowly. I pulled out a folder from my briefcase. Inside were printouts. Bank statements, emails, transfer records. Jimmy's investigation had been thorough. I know about the offshore accounts, I said quietly. I know about the shell companies. I know about Vincent Holloway and the $50,000 you paid him. And I know about the life insurance policy. Linda's face went white. Tom's jaw clenched. I know everything, I continued. I know you two knew each other before Linda and I met. I know this has been a setup from the beginning. I know you've been embezzling from the company for years. And I know you're planning to kill me. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Tom laughed. Actually laughed. Rob, that's insane. You sound paranoid. Have you been drinking? I have recordings, I said, of you two in this office, discussing my murder, discussing the insurance payout, discussing your exit strategy. Linda stood up, tears in her eyes. Robert, please. I don't know what you think you heard, but I was here, Linda, 3 weeks ago. I came back to get files, and I heard you and Tom in his office. You said you'd been pretending to love me for 5 years. Tom talked about the insurance policy, about making my death look like an accident at the tower site. You discussed Costa Rica. The tears stopped. Her face went cold. If you had proof, you'd have gone to the police already. Oh, I have proof, and I am going to the police. But I wanted to give you both a chance to confess, to tell me why. 25 years, Linda. 25 years of my life. Why? She looked at Tom. He gave a small nod. Because you were easy, Linda said simply. You were lonely and desperate and easy to manipulate. Tom and I needed a score, a long con that would set us up for life. You were perfect. Hardworking, honest, trusting. The kind of man who'd build a successful business and never suspect his wife was robbing him blind. And Tom? I looked at my former friend. The sob story? Needing help? All true, actually, Tom said. I did lose a business, did go broke. But Linda and I stayed in touch over the years. When she told me how successful you'd become, we saw an opportunity. I knew you'd help me. You're a good guy, Rob. That's your weakness. So you used my kindness to destroy me. We used your kindness to make us rich, Linda corrected. And it would have worked perfectly if you hadn't gotten paranoid and started snooping. What happens now? Tom asked, his voice hard. You said you have recordings. You call the cops, we deny everything. It's your word against ours. We can say you edited the recordings, that you're having a mental breakdown. Hell, we might even get a restraining order against you. I smiled. You might try that. But there are other people in this building right now, listening to every word you're saying. Tom's eyes widened. He looked around the room, finally noticing the recording devices. You son of a... The conference room door opened. 3 men in suits entered, followed by Jimmy Chen. Robert Mitchell, one of the men said, showing his badge. FBI Special Agent Marcus Rodriguez. You called in a tip about wire fraud and conspiracy to commit murder? I stood up. Yes. These 2 people have been embezzling from Mitchell and Bradley Construction for years, and they hired a man named Vincent Holloway to kill me and make it look like an accident. Linda lunged for her laptop, but one of the agents grabbed her wrist. Ma'am, I'll need you to step away from that. Tom tried to run. He actually tried to run. Didn't make it 3 steps before another agent had him on the ground. You have the right to remain silent, Agent Rodriguez began. I watched them being handcuffed. Watched Linda's face cycle through emotions, shock, rage, fear, and finally, resignation. 25 years of lies, and it ended like this. In a conference room, with FBI agents reading them their rights, Mr. Mitchell, we'll need you to come down to the field office and give a full statement, Rodriguez said. The evidence you provided was substantial. Combined with the recordings from today, we have enough to charge both of them with conspiracy, wire fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy to commit murder. What about Vincent Holloway? We picked him up an hour ago. He's cooperating in exchange for a reduced sentence. I nodded. Couldn't speak. Couldn't process that it was actually over. Jimmy walked me out to my truck. You did good, Rob. Kept your head, gathered evidence, stayed alive. I can't go home, Jimmy. I can't be in that house. Already handled. I booked you a hotel room. You need some time to process all this. That night, sitting in a Holiday Inn near the airport, I called my kids. Sarah answered first. Hey, Dad, what's up? How do you tell your daughter that her mother tried to have you killed? Honey, I need you and Michael to meet me tomorrow. Something's happened with your mom. She's been arrested. What? Dad, what are you talking about? I told her everything. Took an hour, she cried. Asked questions I couldn't answer. When Michael got on the phone, I had to repeat the whole story. But Mom loved you, Michael said. I saw it. She did. I thought so too, son. But some people are very good at pretending. They came to the hotel the next day. We sat in my room, the 3 of us, and I showed them the evidence. The recordings, the financial documents, everything. Sarah held my hand the whole time. Michael stared at the floor. We believe you, Dad, Sarah said finally. And we're not going to let her get away with this. She won't, I said. The FBI has her, both of them. What happens to the business? Good question. I don't know yet. Tom's shares will probably be seized as part of the criminal proceedings. I'll have to rebuild, find new people I can trust. We'll help, Michael said. Whatever you need. The trial took 8 months. Linda and Tom both pleaded not guilty initially, but the evidence was overwhelming. The recordings, the financial trail, Vincent Holloway's testimony about being hired to sabotage my safety equipment, it all painted a clear picture. Linda's lawyer tried to argue she'd been coerced by Tom, that she was a victim too. Didn't work. Too much evidence showed she'd been an equal partner in the scheme from the beginning. Tom tried to make a deal, offering to testify against Linda in exchange for a reduced sentence. The prosecution didn't need his testimony. They had enough. In the end, Linda got 12 years for conspiracy to commit murder, wire fraud, and embezzlement. Tom got 15, with an extra 3 years for his prior criminal history. Vincent Holloway got 7 years for conspiracy and attempted murder for hire. I sat in the courtroom the day they were sentenced, Sarah on one side of me, Michael on the other. When Linda was let out in handcuffs, she looked at me. Our eyes met for just a second. I don't know what she saw in my face, but she looked away quickly. That was the last time I saw her. Rebuilding took time. I bought out Tom's shares through the seizure proceedings, reorganized the company. Sarah joined as CFO. She'd gotten her MBA and wanted to help. Michael came on as a project manager after finishing his degree in civil engineering. Mitchell Construction became Mitchell & Sons. We put our family name on it, literally. And every morning when I walked into that office, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Pride, without the poison of betrayal underneath it. I'm 64 now. 2 years past that November night when my world fell apart in a parking lot. Some nights I still wake up angry, thinking about the 25 years she stole from me. 25 years of loving someone who saw me as nothing but a mark. But I also think about the life I've built since. The relationship I've rebuilt with my kids, who saw their father fight back with intelligence and dignity. The business that's stronger now than it ever was. The peace of knowing I don't have to look over my shoulder anymore. Last month, I met someone. Helen. She's a widow, runs a small bookstore downtown. We met at a community meeting about a new construction project in her neighborhood. She made me laugh. Actually laugh, for the first time in years. "You're not going to try to kill me, are you?" I asked on our third date. She nearly spit out her wine. "That's the strangest thing anyone's ever said to me." "Long story," I said. "I've got time," she replied. So I told her. Everything. And she listened. Really listened. And when I finished, she reached across the table and took my hand. "Some people are poison," she said, "but some people are medicine. Give yourself permission to find out which one I am. I'm taking it slow. Learning to trust again. Learning to recognize the difference between someone who cares and someone who's playing a role. Because that's the thing about betrayal this deep. It teaches you to question everything. But it also teaches you that you're stronger than you thought. That you can stand in the ruins of your life and build something better. My wife tried to kill me. My business partner plotted against me. And I survived. More than survived, I won. That's my story. That's what happened when I drove to my office one Wednesday night and discovered the truth. And if there's one thing I want you to take from this, it's this: trust your instincts. When something feels wrong, investigate, document, protect yourself. Because the people closest to you can hurt you the most, but they can also underestimate you. Never let them see you coming.